So I recently went down a rabbit hole studying all the outlier videos on business channels across all kinds of different niches. You know, the ones that blew up way more than their other videos did. And I wanted to figure out for myself what they all had in common. And the pattern I found was surprisingly consistent. Just about every outlier video I found had something new and novel about it. You know, sometimes it was custom research that the creator had done themselves. Other times, it was just a brand new method that nobody was talking about yet. But the problem with both of those things is that they're hard, right? Running your own research takes months, and inventing a brand new method isn't something you just decide to do on a Tuesday. So then I was stuck on a question. How does a smaller channel simulate that kind of newness, right? The kind that gets views and gets paying clients. And then I looked over at my bookshelf. I saw Radical Candor. I saw Building the Story Brand. And it hit me, these books aren't really about new concepts. They just took decades-old ideas and gave them names that made them feel brandable and proprietary. And once I saw that pattern, I started seeing it everywhere, not just in books, but on YouTube too. The business channels consistently outperforming everyone else were doing the same thing as those authors, taking ideas that other people were already talking about and giving them a name that made the idea feel like theirs. I call this concept signing, and the named thing itself, that's a signature concept. And including signature concepts in your videos, that is how you create a video so good that clients beg to pay you. It's how you turn generic advice into something ownable. And I've done this a few times myself. I wanted to give a name to the opposite of commodity content, so I coined connoisseurship content. And in another recent video I did, I showed you a specific type of video that made me over $130,000, and I called that the walk-up webinar. It's really just a webinar that you don't put behind a registration page, but giving it a memorable name made the concept feel like mine. And those are my two highest performing videos this year. Here's why it works. When your advice doesn't have a name, it's like water. Valuable, sure, you need it, but it flows right through people's hands. They can't hold on to it, they can't pass it off to someone else, and a minute later, it's just evaporated. But the second you name a concept, it's like freezing that water into ice. Technically, it's still just water, but now it has shape. You can pick it up, you can pass it off to someone, and it stays intact. Now, there's one more reason why this matters now specifically. YouTube's algorithm has gotten really aggressive about holding back reach on any video that doesn't have anything new to say. So, if you're just rehashing information or you're giving generic tips, stuff that sounds like 100 other videos already out there, or like AI could have said the same thing, those videos aren't getting pushed anymore. But a signature concept is newness that you can just create on demand. It's the same advice you were already gonna give, but now it's just wrapped in something that the algorithm and your viewers can recognize as yours. There are 6 different types of signature concepts, so right now, let's just walk through each one so that you can find the style that fits literally any concept you wanna teach. All right, so the first way is the simplest and has the lowest barrier to entry. You just take an idea and you give it a proper name. There are almost no truly new concepts out there, but the good news is the concept doesn't have to be new. Only the name does. So Cal Newport is a computer science professor, and he coined a 2-word term for distraction-free focused productivity. He called it deep work. Just the idea of doing like really focused work has always been valuable, but naming it turned it into a best-selling book, a movement, and a searchable category that Newport now owns. And he even branded the opposite, shallow work. That's his too. Or just take the idea of paying off your debts from smallest balance to largest. Lots of financial experts have said it before, but Dave Ramsey called it the debt snowball. Now you can see it, right? You know, a snowball getting bigger as it rolls downhill. That image made it memorable and shareable. A named concept just gives your viewers a handle to grab and share with other people. And once the name sticks, people will cite you every time they use it. Now, this is the most accessible form of concept signing because you just need one good name. Now, if you're watching these examples and thinking, I could never come up with names like that, good news, AI is weirdly good at this, and I made the perfect prompt that you can use with Claude that takes any generic concept that you ever want to teach in a video, and it's going to turn it into your own signature concept in seconds. And the link for that prompt is down below in the description. All right, so our next signature concept type takes it a step further. So Instead of just naming an idea, you compress an entire method into a single word where every letter stands for a step. It's an acronym. And FIRE is a perfect example of an acronym. It stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. So that was invented by Vicki Robin and Joe Dominguez in a book they wrote in 1992, but the acronym actually went viral through Reddit and personal finance blogs in the 2010s. It basically created this new financial subculture. And that one acronym became so sticky that it actually generated a lot of sub-variants of it, right? Fat Fire, Lean Fire, Barista Fire, Coast Fire, all riding on that original brand. Spin selling is another one. This guy named Neil Rackham turned a sales method into 4 letters: situation, problem, implication, need, payoff. And that acronym's been taught in sales training for decades now. And the reason acronyms work is because they're instant memory triggers, right? They give structure to what would otherwise just be a loose list of tips. And your viewers will be able to remember your method weeks later because the word sticks. They also look great on screen. You can just do some nice B-roll of you writing out each letter, which makes this, natural video content. Now the next type is probably the most shareable of all of them because it turns your idea into something that people can visualize and even take screenshots of. The Eisenhower Matrix, it's a simple 2x2 grid that sorts every task by urgency and importance: do, schedule, delegate, delete. Jim Collins' hedgehog concept is just a Venn diagram of 3 things: what you're passionate about, what you can be best in the world at, and what makes you money. And then the overlap is where you should focus. And Simon Sinek's Golden Circle is just 3 concentric rings showing that great companies start with why they exist, not what they sell. Now, diagrams like these are unique because they don't just support the content, they are the content. A diagram can get screenshotted and pinned and saved and shared in all kinds of ways that, words on a screen never do. And a single diagram can really anchor an entire video now, and then you can bring it back in future videos as a callback that your audience instantly recognizes. Now, this next one is one of the most powerful for YouTube specifically because the number itself does half the marketing for you. Mark Manson built the subtle art of not giving a around what he calls the 5 counterintuitive values. And that 5 is doing some serious work here. It tells you there's a finite list, it signals structure, and it makes you want to know what all 5 of them are. Without the number attached to it, it's really just a philosophy, but with it, it's a system you can follow. And then there's Donald Miller's SB7 framework. He took the structure of how stories work, the kind of stuff screenwriters have used forever, and he turned it into a 7-step formula for writing brand messaging. And that framework became the foundation of everything he teaches. And there's a built-in content bonus if you invent a signature numbered list. Manson could do one video on the 5 counterintuitive values as a whole, then he could go into a separate video going deep on each individual value. So one signature concept just turned itself into 6 videos. Now this next one has a specific advantage that none of the others do. It makes your advice look like science even when it isn't. For example, check out Ray Dalio's pain plus reflection equals progress. It's not even a traditional equation, it's not really math, but the structure makes it feel like it's a law of nature. It takes a soft idea like learning from failure and it gives it the weight of a real formula. And this one's my favorite. I remember my brain completely lighting up when I saw it for the first time. It just felt so smart. It's Alex Hormozi's value equation. So value equals dream outcome times perceived likelihood of success divided by time delay times effort and sacrifice. Arguably his most shared piece of IP he's ever done. Every variable here teaches a lesson, and each one has become its own piece of content. And equations like this are YouTube gold because whenever you draw a formula on screen, that's when you're usually going to see your viewer retention go up because people rewind it to go see it again. So signature formulas are a great way of making people lean into your videos. All right, next, instead of framing your advice as a tip or suggestion, you frame it as a hard and fast rule. I love the Money Guys. They're 2 financial advisors with a YouTube channel. So Brian and Bo, they're the hosts, they turned just really common sense car buying advice into a 3-number rule. Put at least 20% down, pay it off in 3 years or less, and keep payments under 8% of gross income, AKA the 23-8 rule. In that case, the numbers themselves are the name. Then there's James Clear's 2-minute rule. That just says if a habit takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. And yeah, that's technically just a time management tip, but calling something a law or a rule changes how the audience receives it. A tip is optional, a rule feels universal. And that framing is going to make more people want to click on your video because it promises certainty, not just suggestions. And one of the cool parts about coining a rule of your own is it becomes super easy packaging for your video. All you have to do is put the name of the rule in the thumbnail, and it's a huge curiosity driver. People see that and they're like, the what rule? I definitely need to watch this now to see what that's all about. The channel Charisma on Command uses this type of thumbnail all the time. And once you've established a rule, future videos on your channel can reference it. You can say, remember the law of fill in the blank, and the more you say it, that's gonna build an internal vocabulary across all of your content that really rewards people who keep watching, making them feel like they're an insider. And if you haven't downloaded my signature concept prompt yet, click right here for that. All you have to do is just paste in whatever you're teaching next, and it's gonna hand you back names, acronyms, and formulas that make the idea feel like yours instead of something 100 other channels could have already said. So go get that right here or down below in the description. See you next time.